Chapter 2887. The resplendent starry sky trembled in. Master, no, no, give me a chance. Don't kill me, don't kill me! In the middle of the battlefield, the Emperor screamed in horror. He was completely restrained by the chains. Seeing the murderous intent in Tianjin's eyes, his body trembled violently, and he begged for mercy. Just kill him directly. Let bygones be bygones. Tianjin stared at the disciple that he had taught for thousands of years. He closed his eyes slowly and said to roving heavens and the rest, You're too soft-hearted, old man. Let me torture him for you. Bachi laughed weirdly. In a flash, he came to the Emperor's side. With a swing of his arm, he gave him a slap on the face. Deceiving your master and destroying your ancestors will cost you your soul. As Bachi spoke, he waved his arm and dark energy surged towards the Emperor. Argh! A painful scream was heard. Tianjin closed his eyes and didn't move at all. The scream added a sense of horror to the entire battlefield. Some experts from the Witch Alliance shivered when they heard the scream from their Emperor God. What kind of pain could cause a God Emperor to be in such a miserable state? Bachi screamed weirdly. Black flesh and blood gushed out from his arm and entered his body, torturing him continuously. Argh! The screams reverberated. Other than some God King experts who were still resisting, the rest of the people on the battlefield were kneeling on the ground. The screams entered their ears, causing their bodies to tremble uncontrollably. Prime Minister Turtle, it's done! In less than 5 minutes, all the God King experts of the Witch Alliance were killed. Roving Sword flew over and reported to Prime Minister Turtle with a smile. Roar! 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 9 wind divine dragons roared excitedly in the sky above the battlefield. Their voices echoed throughout the entire Wu Mountain. They cooperated with everyone kneeling on Wu Mountain. This meant that the era of the Witch Alliance had ended and a new era was about to begin. Bachi Devilish, your venom-horned dragon species should have gotten some information. Take over this area and lead some members to collect all the treasures. The rest of the Dragon Palace disciples, clean up the battlefield. Prime Minister Turtle ordered immediately. Yes. The group of Dragon Palace disciples responded immediately. Buzz! At this time, Wang Xian walked out of the Void Holy Kingdom slowly and looked down. Roar! The 9 divine wind dragons let out a deep roar and flew towards Wang Xian, circling around him. Everyone's eyes were focused on the Dragon King in the sky. Their eyes were filled with awe and respect. In this battle, apart from the Emperor of the Imperial Court who had escaped, everyone else was left behind. All those above the God King realm were killed. The destruction of the Imperial Court and the Shaman Association was single-handedly caused by the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. They had annihilated the 2 great forces and killed the wizards of the Shaman Association. He led the Dragon Palace to rise in power in a short period of time. After today's battle, the Dragon Palace would shake the entire starry sky, destroying 2 great powers in one fell swoop, ending the era of 2 peak powers. This was terrifying to the extreme. I am the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. In the future, the Heavenly Witch Domain will be taken over by the Dragon Palace. Anyone who disobeys will be killed without mercy. Wang Xian stood high above and scanned the crowd below him, as well as every corner of the void around him. As his voice trailed off, a series of terrifying dragon roars shook the heavens and earth. It was a declaration of the Dragon Palace's position in this void. Pay your respects to the Dragon King! Amos Shah looked down at all the disciples of the Shaman Association and the Imperial Court kneeling on Wu Mountain and shouted sternly, Greetings, Dragon King! On Wu Mountain, everyone's bodies trembled, and they immediately shouted out loud, Greetings, Dragon King! Shouts after shouts reverberated throughout the area. The Dragon King has found us! With the strength of the Dragon King, he can naturally sense our presence. The Dragon Palace is taking over the Heavenly Witch Domain. With the terrifying strength of the Dragon Palace, surrender! The experts of the Heavenly Witch Domain hiding in the void immediately revealed themselves. The Heavenly Witch Domain was not unified by the Shaman Association, just like the Imperial Star Domain in the past. Other than the Heavenly Witch Domain, there were also a few great forces. Although they did not have Emperor Gods, they had many peak God Kings. At this moment, after witnessing the terrifying strength of the Dragon Palace, they did not dare to take any chances. One by one, they revealed themselves. "Greetings, Dragon King!" They stood in the void and knelt down on one knee towards the Dragon King to pay their respects. Wan Xian swept his gaze across them and nodded lightly. "Let's go to the center of the Shaman Association's Wu Mountain." He looked at the group of Dragon Palace members and flew towards the front of Wu Mountain. According to the information he received from Sorcerer, Wu Mountain was a huge treasure trove. A force that stood for 1 billion years, a nest that had been in operation for 1 billion years. Anything taken out from inside would be fought over by countless experts. It was no exaggeration to say that if all the treasures inside were exchanged for resources, the Dragon Palace could give birth to 12 Emperor Gods. Secondly, he had obtained many treasures from the Void God Kingdom of the Sorcerer. The more precious ones were the substitute puppets, which could represent one's death. It was definitely a life-saving treasure. In addition, there were all kinds of treasures and secret manuals about witchcraft. It was a huge treasure trove. Apart from these, the Dragon Palace killed 7 Emperor Gods, including Sorcerer. Sorcerer was a second-order God Emperor, so the Dragon Palace could have one more second-order God Emperor expert. The remaining 6 corpses can increase by 6. As for the Void Kingdom, the Devouring Dragon can absorb the excess. As for the rest, the Dragon Palace can absorb them first. The Dragon Palace can absorb the 9 attributes of the Void Kingdom and reach level 8. Wang Xian murmured, his eyes shining brightly. The harvest this time would definitely be terrifying. The resources he had were only at the Emperor God level. There were more than 50 peak God King corpses and a large number of treasures in their God Kingdom. In short, the Dragon Palace's strength would be greatly enhanced this time. The resources here are enough for me to improve again. He squinted his eyes and was in a good mood. He moved and soon arrived at the center of Wu Mountain. His gaze swept across the center of the major forces, and a smile appeared on his face. The Dragon King and the rest have gone to the center of Wu Mountain. I'm afraid the entire Heavenly Witchcraft Domain will be in an uproar. In less than half an hour, the Witchcraft Union was defeated, Sorcerer was killed by the Dragon King, and the Emperor of the Imperial Court fled in fear. Not only the Witchcraft Union, but the entire resplendent starry sky will be in an uproar soon. The Dragon Palace is going to shake the world. In the void, the experts of the Heavenly Witchcraft Domain muttered as they watched the Dragon King leave. Chapter 2888. In just 2 minutes, the defense of the Witches' Association was breached by the Dragon Palace. The Dragon King attacked and killed the witches in a domineering manner. The Emperor of the Imperial Court fled in fear. In less than half an hour, all the Emperor Gods in the Shaman Assembly Imperial Court were killed. The rest of the disciples only survived because they surrendered. The strength of the Dragon Palace is simply invincible. Those 9 huge creatures are divine wind dragons. They are divine dragons, real divine dragons, very terrifying. The Wizard Association has suffered a crushing defeat. In the future, the Dragon Palace will take over the Heavenly Wizard Domain. All the experts of the forces hiding in the surroundings must show themselves and pledge allegiance to the Dragon King. The strength of the Dragon Palace is simply heaven-defying. It's too terrifying. The Wizard Association can't withstand it at all. Too strong. The Divine Dragon roar. The Dragon King is invincible. Today, we, the Ancient Sorcerer Sect, declare our allegiance to the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. In the future, the Dragon Palace will be our master, and the Dragon King will be our lord. The entire Heavenly Witchcraft Domain was paying close attention to the Dragon Palace's invasion of the Heavenly Witchcraft Domain. However, to everyone in the Heavenly Witchcraft region's disbelief, less than half an hour after the Dragon Palace arrived at Wu Mountain, they received a series of messages. In particular, when the Ancient Witchcraft Sect directly issued a statement on the communication network, the entire heavenly witchcraft domain was dumbfounded. Everyone's jaws dropped as they read the information about Mount Wu. Their faces were filled with disbelief. The warlock was dead, killed by the Dragon King. All the experts above the God King level of the Shaman Association were dead. Not a single one was left alive. As for disciples below the God King realm, the Dragon Palace did not kill too many of them and let them go. Otherwise, the entire Sorcerer Association would be wiped out by the Dragon Palace. Only the Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court managed to escape. The other God Emperors had all perished. Within a day, all 6 Emperor Gods of the Witchcraft Association had been killed. None of them had managed to escape. A God Emperor from the Imperial Dynasty was easily killed. Everyone in the Heavenly Witchcraft region widened their eyes in disbelief when they read the news. In the past, the Witchcraft Society was very strong, but many sects in the Heavenly Witchcraft domain did not surrender. But now, they have directly announced their allegiance to the Dragon Palace. How strong is the Dragon Palace? I'm almost 100% sure that there are divine dragons in the Dragon Palace, real divine dragons. In the communication network of the Heavenly Witchcraft domain, countless people were discussing. However, 3 hours later, everyone received a message in the communication network. Anyone who possessed a communication stone plate would receive this message. From today onwards, the Dragon Palace will take over the Heavenly Witchcraft region. In the future, the entire Heavenly Witchcraft region will be ruled by the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace will establish a new order based on the Imperial Star region. In addition, the Heavenly Witchcraft region and the Imperial Star region will soon be able to communicate with each other. This message announced that the Dragon Palace would completely control the entire Heavenly Witch domain. Everyone in the Heavenly Witchcraft region trembled slightly when they saw this message. The Dragon Palace wants to connect the 2 domains and control our Heavenly Witch domain. Is the Dragon King going to re-establish the order of our Heavenly Witchcraft domain? Are you going to provoke a lot of people and forces? Provoke many people and forces? Even the Wizard Association was destroyed within half an hour. The rest of the forces are just small fries in the eyes of the Dragon Palace. Didn't you see that the rest of the forces have already declared their allegiance? This piece of news caused an uproar in the entire Heavenly Witchcraft domain. But soon, all the people in the Heavenly Witchcraft territory found that the forces that could be called out in the Heavenly Witchcraft territory once again issued a statement on the communication network. Obey the Dragon King's orders. Obey the Dragon Palace's orders unconditionally. Seeing how all the forces cooperated so respectfully, everyone knew that the sky in the Heavenly Witchcraft domain had changed. From the side, they could also feel the terror of the Dragon Palace. Dragon King, all the treasures have been collected. The god nations of the god emperors have also been found. At the same time, on the highest peak of Wu Mountain, Tianjin came to Wang Xian with a beaming face and reported. Great! Move an ocean to Wu Mountain, and we will build a dragon palace here. Wang Xian said to Tianjin. Yes, I know there's an ocean nearby. Tianjin nodded immediately. Dragon Palace, the resources and treasures we've obtained this time can increase the number of god emperors by at least 25, doubling the number. In addition, we can add a second-order god emperor expert. Prime Minister Turtle exclaimed excitedly from the side. Bring those void god kingdoms over and let the Dragon Palace absorb them. In addition, after we build the Dragon Palace here, we need to carry out a thorough reform of the Heavenly Witchcraft domain. Send the experts of the Dragon Palace to kill all those vicious people. Leave the management to Qinghua and Feng Luan. Wang Xian instructed Prime Minister Turtle. Yes, Dragon King. I will assist the Dragon Queens to take control of the entire Heavenly Witchcraft domain as soon as possible. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. When the time comes, we can get the 9 wind divine dragons to work together. It will be faster. Wang Xian chuckled and said. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle replied. The Heavenly Witchcraft domain was different from the Imperial Star domain. This star domain was chaotic and could not be compared to the Imperial Star domain, let alone the sacred region. Although it was not like the Tian Fa ancient heaven region, it was filled with killings. There were many human experiments, killing people to refine treasures, and many more. Since the Dragon Palace wanted to take over this star domain, it had to be reorganized. As for whether anyone resisted, they would be killed. Given the strength of the Dragon Palace, it was too easy to get rid of them. With Tianjin and the Wind Divine Dragons around, they could not escape even if they wanted to. After taking control of 2 domains, the speed of improvement of the Dragon Palace will be even more terrifying. Wang Xian murmured with a smile on his face. After killing more than 1,000,000 Emperor Gods from the Witch Alliance, the strength of the ordinary members of the Dragon Palace would be greatly improved. At the very least, the strength of the weakest members of the Dragon Palace would reach the 4th or 5th order Immortal God King realm. I wonder how 8 Desolation and 6 Directions would react if they knew about the situation here? Wang Xian's lips curved as he looked down at the mountains and rivers. Next, a huge ocean was quickly transported over by the 9 divine dragons and the Tianjin. The huge ocean was transported over hundreds of millions of miles, causing a huge commotion in the heavenly witchcraft domain. Such mighty power was terrifying. 1. The ocean was carried to a part of Mount Wu and landed in the middle of the mountain. Wang Xian immediately established a dragon palace and established a connection with the dragon palace in the Imperial Star domain. Xiao Xian? Heavenly witchcraft domain has been conquered? The girls received the message and immediately teleported over to ask Wang Xian. Yeah. Wang Xian nodded with a smile on his face. Next, you can expand the Dragon and Phoenix God dynasty to the Heavenly Witchcraft domain and take control of this place. However, it might take some time. It's more troublesome than the Imperial Star domain. Chapter 2889, Prestige of Dragon Palace 1. The Dragon Phoenix God dynasty, which is in charge of the Imperial Star domain, will take over the Heavenly Witchcraft domain, while the Dragon Palace will guard Mount Wu. The founders of the Dragon Phoenix God dynasty were the Dragon Queens of the Dragon Palace. In 7 days, the Imperial Star region's AI will be connected to the Heavenly Witch region's communication network. At that time, the Heavenly Witch region will know everything that happens in the Imperial Star region, and vice versa. The ancient Magi and other large sects have gone to Mount Wu to pay their respects. Now that there are very few people on Mount Wu, the Dragon Phoenix God dynasty's Empress has announced that talented people can settle down on Mount Wu. According to the investigation of the experts of the Dragon Palace, the evil sect has committed all kinds of evil deeds in the Heavenly Witchcraft domain. Now the Empress of the Dragon Phoenix God dynasty has given the order to destroy it. The 9 divine dragons and a total of 12 Emperor Gods, including the Heavenly Array, have taken action. None of the evil sect members will be spared. Order is about to be established in the Heavenly Wizard region, a peaceful world. Over the next few days, major events took place on the communication network in the Heavenly Witchcraft territory. Every matter was earth-shaking to the entire Heavenly Witch domain. The establishment of the Dragon Phoenix God dynasty, the interconnection of communication and teleportation arrays, and the acceptance of talented people in Mount Wu. There was also one thing that stirred the Heavenly Witchcraft domain the most. The Dragon Palace and the Dragon Phoenix God dynasty were going to get rid of the evildoers. The Evil Stream sect was also a powerful force with an illustrious reputation in the Heavenly Witch domain. They controlled dozens of planets and practiced slavery. They treated hundreds of millions of people as cattle and horses, slaughtered them at will, and refined magic tools. In the end, the Dragon Palace sent 12 Emperor Gods to wipe them out. That was 12 God Emperors. The evil sects did not have a single God Emperor, but the Dragon Palace had sent 10 God Emperors. It was especially so for the 9 divine dragons, which exuded a despairing aura. Those 2 heavenly divine dragons roared. Not a single disciple of the evil great sect was left alive. They all died under great pain. From the patriarch to the servant disciples, not a single one of them was left alive. Moreover, the 2 God Emperors of the Dragon Palace tortured everyone from the evil sect for more than 10 hours before killing them. The entire Heavenly Witchcraft domain was in an uproar, and most people applauded. Some people who practiced evil sorcery turned pale. They either turned over a new leaf or fled the heavenly sorcery domain. The aggressive actions of the Dragon Palace also made everyone realize that the rules of the Heavenly Witch territory had changed. The Great Reform began. In less than a month, the Heavenly Witchcraft domain had undergone tremendous changes. Is the information confirmed? At this moment, in the sacred tower of the Holy Region's holy nation, the Sacred Master looked at Hong Fengyan and asked in shock. I'm sure. The Saint Lord should have received the news from our scouts. There shouldn't be any discrepancies, Hong Fengyan said with a faint smile. Sorcerers were killed. None of the Heavenly Witchcraft domain's Emperor gods escaped. All the Divine King experts were killed. The strength of this Dragon Palace is too terrifying. It's more than terrifying. Many people in the Heavenly Witchcraft region are now certain that those 9 creatures are real divine dragons. The legendary Wind Divine Dragons are existences that stand at the peak of the universe. At the side, the 2 Sacred Region Emperor gods exclaimed in shock. The Witchcraft Association is much more powerful than our sanctuary. As far as I know, the Dragon Palace broke through the Witchcraft Association's defense in less than 2 minutes. That wizard was instantly killed by the Dragon King. Only the Sovereign Lord was prepared in advance and escaped. Hong Fengyan continued. With the terrifying speed of the Dragon King, he is indeed capable of killing the wizard from the Witchcraft Association in a surprise attack. Dragon Palace, Dragon King, Divine Dragon. Xiao Yan, interact with the Dragon King in the future. With the current strength of the Dragon Palace, they are qualified to fight for the first place in the Bedazzling Star region. The Sacred Master's eyes twinkled as he said, to be able to destroy 2 of the 7 major forces in the Bedazzling Star region single-handedly, the strength of the Dragon Palace had far surpassed the Sanctuary region. In fact, the Sanctuary region might not even last a minute against the Dragon Palace. This matter might not have spread to the other star regions yet. Why don't we light a fire to spread the news faster? Hong Fengyan asked the Sacred Master with a smile. After all, we have a good relationship with the Dragon Palace. Let's congratulate them on our artificial intelligence system. The Sacred Master chuckled. He had seen the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace before. Because of Hong Fengyan, the Sanctuary region and the Dragon Palace would become good friends. This was enough for the Sanctuary region. Hong, look at the message on the artificial intelligence system. Congratulations to the Dragon Palace for unifying the Heavenly Witchcraft region and killing the enemy. Gosh, what does this mean? The Dragon Palace destroyed the Witchcraft Association? They destroyed the Imperial Court? How long has it been since the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace left the Sanctuary region? They actually destroyed the Witchcraft Association, the Imperial Court, and swept across a region. The strength of the Dragon Palace is too terrifying. They are simply nature-defying. Soon, the entire Sanctuary region was in an uproar after the congratulatory statement from the Sanctuary region was released. This was truly sweeping through an entire region, truly annihilating a powerful force of a region. 5 years ago, the battle for the rise of the Dragon Palace was fought within the Imperial Star region. Moreover, they didn't destroy the Imperial Court and didn't cause much of a commotion. But now, they were truly sweeping across a region, destroying the other party in a cross-region war and taking over a large region. Incomparably terrifying. This caused everyone in the sanctuary to involuntarily suck in a breath of cold air. The Witchcraft Association and the Imperial Court have been destroyed. I wonder how the 8 Desolation will react? At this moment, some people thought of the 8 Desolation. Not long ago, the 8 Desolation and the Imperial Court Emperor God had jointly headed to the Sanctuary region to warn their Emperor God Hong Feng not to interfere with the matters between them and the Dragon Palace. In the end, the Witchcraft Association and the Imperial Court were destroyed by the Dragon Palace. What about the 8 Desolation? If the 8 Desolation were to learn of this news, they would probably piss their pants. At the thought of this, everyone in the sacred region was gloating. Next, let's see how arrogant you can be. The announcement from the sanctuary accelerated the spread of the news that the Dragon Palace had destroyed the Witchcraft Association and the Imperial Court. Among the 7 major regions, 3 of them were in an uproar, and the news spread to the surrounding star regions. Especially the 8 Desolation and 6 Directions. The 8 Desolation and 6 Directions didn't belong to the same star region. It was a place where experts from various regions wanted to make breakthroughs and search for treasures. Hence, the people in the 8 Desolation and 6 Directions came from various star regions and received news from various star regions in a timely manner. But today, a piece of news silenced the entire 8 Desolation and 6 Directions. The Dragon King of the Dragon Palace led the Divine Dragons to attack the Heavenly Witchcraft region and destroyed the Witchcraft Association and the Imperial Court. The Emperor God of the Witchcraft Association and the witches were all killed. The Emperor God of the Imperial Court fled. When this news spread on the communication network of the 8 Desolation and 6 Directions and was confirmed by many people, the atmosphere in the entire 8 Desolation and 6 Directions became a little strange. Especially to the disciples of the 8 Desolation. Not long ago, the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace killed the Wind God of the 8 Desolation, and the 8 Desolation ordered the Dragon Palace to give an explanation or else they would pay a heavy price. After the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace left, he announced that the members of the Dragon Palace would be killed if they came to the 8 Desolation and 6 Directions. Moreover, they collaborated with the Witchcraft Association and the Imperial Court to destroy the Dragon Palace. But now, Chapter 2890, Prestige of Dragon Palace 2. All the God Kings of the Shaman Association were killed. Not a single one was spared. However, the Dragon Palace did not kill the experts below the God King realm. I would like to ask the experts of the 8 Desolates, are you panicking? Are you guys panicking? At this moment, in the communication network of Desolation and 6 Directions, a message came from a slightly well-known person in Desolation and 6 Directions. And that person was invincible in battle. Through a special method, Invincible Warrior allowed his underlings to log into his communication network and post this message. His slightly joking words attracted the attention of many people from all over the place. Are you panicking? How could they not panic? Not long ago, they had allied with the Witch Association and the Imperial Court. In just 2 months, the Witch Association and the Imperial Court had been destroyed by the Dragon Palace. Furthermore, it was easily annihilated. He had swept across a region and destroyed 2 peak forces. The 9 wind divine dragons roared in the starry sky, shaking the world. The experts of Ba Huang paled when they heard the news. This was a matter of life and death. The 8 Desolations were very strong, but they were definitely not as strong as the combined strength of the Imperial Court and the Witchcraft Society. This was especially true for the Witchcraft Association. After they set up their defenses, the 8 Desolates could not even break through their defenses one-on-one. But now, they were all annihilated, except for those released by the Dragon Palace. Even a Magus was killed. Sorcerers were the pinnacle existences among the Emperor Gods in the resplendent starry sky. There were no more than 3 people in the entire bedazzling starry sky who were stronger than wizards. Even God Emperor Desolation of the 8 Desolations was not a match for the sorcerers. Do you think the Dragon King will lead the experts of the Dragon Palace to attack us? At this moment, someone asked. All the experts and disciples of Ba Huang paled when they saw the question. Currently, there was a strange commotion in the Universal Communication Network. The disciples who weren't from 8 Desolation were all extremely shocked, and all sorts of replies and comments were made. But the disciples of the 8 Desolations felt their scalps go numb when they saw the questions. They chose to remain silent. As a result, the number of people who commented on this shocking matter was very few. The atmosphere was slightly strange. Not only in the communication network, but in reality, the atmosphere was also very strange. Some of the 8 Desolation disciples looked embarrassed and hurried away. There were also many people who looked worried. They were really scared now. He was afraid that the Dragon Palace's Dragon King would lead experts to attack. At that time, what could they do? Surrender or flee? As for resistance, none of the disciples and experts of Ba Huang thought that they were a match for the Dragon Palace. Emperor God Desolation, the information that we received from the communication network is true. Moreover, I received news from the Holy Region that Emperor God Shen Wu of the Imperial Court and our Emperor God San Yen were killed by the Dragon King in an instant. While the entire 8 Desolation was shaking, all the God Emperors of 8 Desolation gathered in the main hall of 8 Desolation Planet. Dozens of Octoterra protectors stood in front of them. The leading elder reported with an incomparably ugly expression. The atmosphere was heavy, and everyone's expressions were not good. Even Emperor God Desolation, who was sitting at the front, had a gloomy expression. The information circulating on the communication network in the past 2 days was an impending disaster for them. The other God Emperors leaned on their thrones, their expressions changing. For a moment, the entire hall seemed to freeze. The strength displayed by the Dragon Palace made them feel despair. If they attacked, the 8 Desolates would not be a match for the Dragon Palace. They did not know how many people would die. Once the Dragon Palace organized in advance, they could even wipe them all out. Hong! Just as the entire hall was abnormally silent, a terrifying aura charged towards them. Who is it? Courting death! How dare you barge into the 8 Desolates? Suddenly, the God Emperors in the hall seemed to have been ignited. They stood up and their expressions were filled with violence. Virum! Everyone from the 8 Desolates! Just then, a voice was heard. Emperor God Desolation stared at the figure in front of him, his eyes beaming with coldness. Ha! When they saw the figure, everyone's expression changed. Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court? Emperor God Desolation looked at the elder who was holding the scepter of light. He was shocked and asked, "Just a stray dog?" The Emperor Lord held the scepter of light in his hand tightly, and said expressionlessly, "I wonder what the Emperor Lord is here for?" Emperor God Desolation stared at him, and his expression changed. The Witchcraft Association was destroyed, and all the God Emperors died. I am the only one who escaped. The Emperor Lord said solemnly, lifted his head slightly and closed his eyes. Is the divine dragon of the Dragon Palace real? Emperor God Desolation gritted his teeth and asked the Emperor Lord. Yes, it's exactly the same as the Wind Divine Dragon in the records. A real divine dragon. The Emperor Lord replied. SSS. The group of protectors and Emperor Gods in the hall could not help but gasp in astonishment. So what's the Emperor Lord here for? Emperor God Desolation clenched his fist and asked. I'm here to tell you guys to be prepared to escape and find a chance to take revenge. Emperor God Desolation opened his bloodshot eyes and looked a little miserable. Everyone in the hall looked at the tired Emperor Lord and felt their hearts skip a beat. This was the leader of a pinnacle force that once ruled the region. Now, he was in such a pathetic state. Emperor Lord, please stay here for the time being. We have been in the 8 Desolates for hundreds of millions of years. We have a secret base in the depths. Even if the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace were to come, he wouldn't be in danger. Emperor God Desolation said to him slowly. All right. The Emperor Lord nodded. He looked across the 8 Desolates God Emperors and fixed his eyes on Emperor God Desolation. The Dragon Palace is very strong. Even the Inheritance Formation of the Witch Alliance couldn't hold them off for 2 minutes. The Sky Array God Emperor specializes in all kinds of formations. If the Dragon Palace were to come, we have to find a safe place. Otherwise, everyone will be dead, he reminded. Don't worry. Even the strongest sorcerer wouldn't be able to find that place in the 8 Desolates, Emperor God Desolation said. At the same time, he was shocked. What kind of power could make the Emperor Lord of the Imperial Court so fearful? How strong was the Dragon Palace? Time passed and the 8 Desolates remained silent. At this moment, what else could they do but to remain silent? Clamoring would just be a joke. Everyone could tell that the 8 Desolates was far from the Dragon Palace. However, the news of the Dragon Palace sweeping across the Heaven Witch region and wiping out the Witch Alliance and the Imperial Court had spread to other regions. Unlike the 8 Desolates and the Holy Region, They were most concerned about the divine dragon of the Dragon Palace. Was the divine dragon a real divine dragon? Was it the legendary divine dragon at the pinnacle of the universe? End of chapter. Chapter 2891. Prestige of Dragon Palace. Three-colored glaze region was also known as the number 1 human region. It was also the most powerful region among the humans. The entire colored glaze region had more than 30 god emperors. The strongest force in the colored glaze region had more than 20 god emperors. Resplendent and glorious. That was the best way to describe the colored glaze region. The strength of the colored glaze region was related to the two regions that bordered it. One was the demon region and the other was the mechanic emperor region. The demon region wasn't inhabited by humans, but by demons and monsters. The mechanic emperor region was inhabited by robots. These two regions were enemies to humans. The colored glaze region often clashed with them. Only in the midst of battle and slaughter could the strong become stronger. With the foundation of the colored glaze region and the constant battles, the colored glaze region had many strong warriors. Is the news true? The Dragon Palace really has a purebred wind divine dragon? Located in the center of the colored glaze region, the strongest force was also known as the number 1 colored glaze region. In a large hall, a few old men sat. An old man asked in surprise. The news is true. There are pictures. Even if it isn't a purebred wind divine dragon, it must be a powerful dragon with unlimited potential. A middle-aged man answered. A divine dragon. I didn't expect a divine dragon to appear in our region. An old man sighed. What about the Dragon Palace? The old man in the center asked with twinkling eyes. According to the news we received, the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace basically doesn't care about anything. It's his woman who manages the region. All in all, he's a wise ruler. The Imperial Star region is very peaceful now. The middle-aged man continued to report. That's good. We can't allow more evil lords to appear. It's good that the Shaman Association was destroyed. The few old men nodded. Old ancestor, is there some trouble in the demon region? The middle-aged man asked with a frown. Some of the demons and monsters that were summoned out have returned. The old man in the center said with a serious expression. What? They're all back? Those demons that were summoned out, why are they all back? The middle-aged man couldn't help but exclaim. The few old men shook their heads with grave expressions on their faces. Mechanic Emperor region. Lord Creator, we used technology to connect to the artificial intelligence in the Imperial Star region and found pictures of the divine dragons. According to our analysis, there is an 83% chance that the 9 divine dragons are pure wind divine dragons. In the technologically advanced Mechanic Emperor region, various spaceships flew around a metal planet. At the center of the planet, a golden figure sat high up on a throne. At the front, a dozen or so silver-colored robots with wings knelt in front and reported respectfully. I already know. You can leave now. An emotionless mechanical voice came from Huang Jinhuang's mouth. He was the creator of the Mechanic Emperor domain, the ruler of all the robots. The robots had their own intelligence and had powerful abilities. However, they did not have the ability to reproduce. The birth of robots relied on energy and metal. All the robots that were born had to obey the orders of the Creator 100%. The Creator could kill a robot with a single thought. Divine Dragon. That's a race that stands at the pinnacle of the universe. I really want to get a divine dragon for research. It's a pity that the Dragon Palace has already matured. Lines of information flashed in the golden figure's eyes. He sat on the throne and murmured. Roar! Roar! In the incomparably dark starry sky, countless ferocious monsters roared as they rampaged through the void. In this deep void, there were countless terrifying devil's dens. Each devil's den was so deep that one couldn't see the bottom. These devil's lairs seemed to lead to another world. This was the Chi Mei region. If Wang Xian was here, he would recognize these creatures. Demons! At this moment, in the center of the Chi Mei region, a large number of demons flew out of the devil's lairs. They reeked of blood. God knew how many creatures they had killed. Wang Xian was unaware of the commotion in the outside world. After more than a month, the matters in the heavenly witchcraft domain were basically settled. After building the Dragon Palace on some key planets in the heavenly witchcraft domain, he was done. The members of the Dragon Palace who had been busy for a month had basically returned. Today, in the Dragon King Hall of the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian and I are holding a banquet to celebrate the victory. To celebrate the control of the heavenly witchcraft domain. Dragon King, the heavenly witchcraft domain has basically been stabilized. Next, the members of the Dragon Palace will be greatly improved. Prime Minister Turtle sat on the right side of the main seat. Beside him were the Emperor God-level leaders of the Dragon Palace. Next, all of you will enter the Dragon Transformation Pool to improve your strength. You guys have worked hard during this period. Wang Xian nodded his head, raised his glass with a smile, and gestured to them. Serving the Dragon King and the Dragon Palace is what we, the officials, should do. The group of Dragon Palace leaders and experts responded with joy on their faces. Old Wang, we have been in seclusion for a few years. In the end, we might as well enter the Dragon Transformation Pool to improve ourselves. No, we have to improve our strength quickly and go out to play. We have not gone out to play since we came to the resplendent starry sky. On the left side, a group of girls sat there. Huar, Kair, and the rest had been cultivating in seclusion ever since they came here. Now, they had the strength of an 8th Order God Lord. However, they were the weakest in the Dragon Palace. Good. This time, all of you will enter the Dragon Transformation Pool and improve to the peak of the God King realm. Wang Xian smiled and swept his gaze across them. His younger sister, Xiao Yu, brother-in-law, Feng Lingtian, a group of girls, Huar, Kaya, and his disciples, Xiao Ran and Bei Shuang. Only Ling Xiu was not around. He had sent Tianjin and the rest to search for her for a long time, but to no avail. Everything would be perfect once they found Ling Xiu. After 3 rounds of wine and 5 rounds of dishes. After having dinner with the group of Dragon Palace leaders and chatting with the girls, Wang Xian came to the Dragon Transformation Pool. At this moment, the Dragon Transformation Pool was filled with dragon blood. The dazzling dragon blood exuded a vast amount of energy. The disciples of the Dragon Palace were improving their strength in the pool. Tianjin was also sitting in the middle, looking at the various secret manuals about witchcraft that he had obtained from the Witch Association's treasure vault while absorbing the dragon blood. The energy from the corpse of a sorcerer was enough to restore him to his peak and even surpass his peak state. The upper limit of the witch dragon was very high. Currently, he could only fight 2 levels above him. When he mastered more arrays and witchcraft skills, he could fight 3 levels above him. According to Tianjin, the possibility of this was very high. According to his own guess, he might be able to reach a new height this time. It's time for me to improve myself. I have enough resources. Wang Xian looked at the treasures in the space ring and revealed a smile. Chapter 2892 Prestige of Dragon Palace. For this time, the Dragon Palace's harvest was much greater than the previous Imperial Court battle. The last time they attacked the Imperial Dynasty, they fled and took all their treasures. This time around, the entire Witchcraft Association was annihilated. All the God Emperors and more than 1 million God King experts were killed. Over the past month, the Dragon Palace had found the void divine kingdoms of all the God King experts of the Witch Association and obtained a large number of treasures from them. There were all kinds of pills, all kinds of divine grass and divine trees. After all, this was the accumulation of more than 1 million experts. These God kingdoms were all given to the devouring dragon and the others. With so many undying God nations, Aosia was prepared to give birth to more devouring dragons, increasing the number of devouring dragons to 1 million. These undying God kingdoms were enough for all the devouring dragons to reach the undying God King level. At the same time, all the members of the devouring dragon's battle prowess had reached the 4th Order Immortal God King realm. Phew, upgrade! He took a deep breath and immediately turned into a divine dragon. Large amounts of medicinal pills and divine herbs were poured into his mouth. All sorts of resources were converted into dragon energy. 2 days later, Wang Xian's body trembled slightly. Ka ka ka! His body, which was already more than 20,000 meters long, grew once again, and slowly grew to 30,000 meters. 8 rays of light flickered on his dragon scales, looking somewhat dazzling from afar. Wang Xian, who had evolved once again, was a little hard to look at. An existence that could not be looked at directly. Ding! Congratulations to host for leveling up to 7th Order Immortal God King! Name: Wang Xian. Race: Yin Yang 5 Elements Dragon, 1 with the Dragon. Rank: 7th Order Immortal God King. 7 Transformation of Divine Dragon Transformation. Origin Source: 212396050000000000 Magic: Dominate the aquatic creatures. Dominate any aquatic creatures lower than your own level. Devour living things. Devour living things to extract the source. Control of the 5 elements. Cultivation technique. Divine dragon transformation. Divine abilities: soul capture, spirit attachment, yin yang. 5 elements. Dragon eyes. Dharma form: 5 elements. Grindstone, dragon country in the palm, dragon head descending, 10,000-mile dragon body, yin yang polarity, yin yang 5 elemental bowl, divine dragon tail whip. Substantive law: metal, wood, water, fire, earth, light, and darkness. Tier 7, divine kingdom, dragon palace, own dragon palace, level 7, dragon palace members. 1022450. The voice of the system sounded. Looking at the attributes in his head, Wang Xian revealed a smile. 7th Order Immortal God King Realm Strength, 3rd Order God Emperor Realm Combat Power. With the power of the peerless sacred wings, he could instantly kill a 3rd Order God Emperor Realm Expert. I wonder if I'm invincible in this resplendent starry sky. Wang Xian could feel the energy flowing through his body, and revealed a smile. He moved and transformed into his human form. The 8 rays of light on his body were still dazzling. His body retracted, and all the light disappeared. He used his mind to sense the location of the dragon transformation pool. All the members of the Dragon Palace were still increasing their strength. Next, let's upgrade the 5 elements grindstone. With a flick of his palm, the 5 elements grindstone appeared. Currently, the 5 elements grindstone was still a treasure equivalent to a pinnacle godly king. However, a pinnacle godly king was no longer sufficient for Wang Xian. As his first divine equipment, and also the one he was most comfortable with, Wang Xian was prepared to continue upgrading it. The 5 elements grindstone could absorb materials of the 5 attributes of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. This time, he had obtained a large amount of materials from the Witchcraft Association, of which there were quite a few 2nd Order Void God Emperor materials. He took out the 5 elements grindstone, and the 5 divine dragons on it let out a soft roar. Within the 5 elements grindstone, there were 5 doppelgangers of Wang Xian. It was a pity that the Earth Dragon doppelganger was missing, and Wang Xian had replaced it with the Light Element doppelganger. This greatly reduced the strength of the 5 elements grindstone. However, there was no other way. Wang Xian took out the materials one by one and placed them on the 5 elements grindstone. The 5 elements grindstone began to operate, grinding the materials into pieces and absorbing them. Wang Xian continued to infuse dragon energy into it, nurturing it. As the days passed, the 5 elements grindstone was also improving rapidly. 2 months later, the heavenly witchcraft domain had completely stabilized. Some people from the Imperial Star domain even came over for sightseeing. The Dragon Palace controlled important resources for the communication between the 2 domains. These resources could increase the number of God King realm experts in the Dragon Palace by a few thousand. If all of these resources were used on a member of the Dragon Palace, a God realm expert could be upgraded to the 5th Order Undying God King realm. Of course, the Dragon Palace no longer had any God realm experts. The weakest among them had reached the 5th Order Undying God King realm. There were over 1 million members in the Dragon Palace, and the weakest among them was a 5th Order Undying God King realm expert. In addition, the number of devouring dragons had increased to 1,000,000 in the past 2 months, and the weakest among them was a 4th-order Undying God King realm expert. This meant that the Dragon Palace had 2,000,000 members, and the weakest among them was a 4th-order Undying God King realm expert. That was terrifying. Wang Xian was confident that the Dragon Palace's army could even sweep the colored glazed domain. Ha ha! One more step! One more step! I've finally become a minor magus! An excited voice came from the dragon transformation pool. Oh! Wang Xian heard the voice and moved to the front of the dragon transformation pool. In front of him, the heavenly array stood in the middle with an excited look on his face. At this moment, it wasn't just one heavenly array, but 9. Each of the 9 heavenly arrays exuded the aura of a second-order God Emperor. Each heavenly array represented a different attribute. Dragon King! Seeing Wang Xian's arrival, the Dragon King revealed a smile. He moved and the 9 heavenly arrays merged into one. It was a 9-colored dragon head, and its body was similar to a human's. Although it still looked a little strange, it was much better than the previous feeling of strangeness. How's your strength now? Wang Xian looked at him and asked with a smile. Dragon King, I'm much stronger than when I was at my peak. I've obtained a huge amount of knowledge regarding witchcraft. Now I can fight against third-order God Emperors. Heavenly Array grinned and said excitedly. Very good! Wang Xian also revealed a smile. With Heavenly Array's breakthrough, the Dragon Palace now had 2 third-order God Emperors. The rest have broken through, right? Wang Xian asked Heavenly Array. The rest of the Dragon Palace members have broken through. Currently, our Dragon Palace has 51 God Emperors. Haha, Dragon King, 51 God Emperors in the entire resplendent starry sky. Who else but our Dragon Palace can do it? Heavenly Array laughed heartily, and his face was filled with pride. 51st. Wang Xian muttered as he flew towards the Dragon King Hall. 51st, including himself. Even so, this was a huge number in the entire resplendent starry sky. 2 third-order God Emperors, 4 second-order God Emperors, and 45 first-order God Emperors. If other superpowers were to know of this, they would definitely be shocked. I'll make a trip to the 8 Desolations tomorrow. I wonder if it's still there. If it's still there, I'll be able to obtain more resources. Wang Xian made up his mind with a smile on his face. Chapter 2893, Might of the Dragon Palace 5. Inch Boss Wang, bring me along! Bring me along! The next morning, Wang Xian, Sky Formation, and the 9 Wind Divine Dragons were ready to make a trip to the 8 Directions Desolation. This time, even if the experts from the 8 Directions Desolation were still there, it would be sufficient for them to head over. When Invincible received the news, he immediately flew over and pleaded with Wang Xian. What are you going there for? To see your girlfriend? Wang Xian looked at him and asked teasingly. Hee, although we're not sure about our relationship, we're close. Invincible chuckled. Let's go. Wang Xian nodded and stepped into the teleportation formation. Invincible followed closely behind. The 9 Wind Divine Dragons and Sky Formation followed suit immediately. 1. When they appeared again, they were at the border of the sacred region, close to Tian Fa Ancient Heaven region. Let's go! The 9 Wind Divine Dragons shifted and transformed into their divine dragon forms. Roar! Roar! Deep roars sounded as the 9 Wind Divine Dragons soared into the sky. A dragon sedan appeared beside Wang Xian. Wang Xian moved and stood on top of it. Divine Dragons pulling the sedan! Invincible Warrior's eyes lit up with excitement. Brat, stand aside! Sky Formation said to Invincible. All right, I know. Invincible smiled and nodded. With the Divine Dragons pulling the sedan, he naturally couldn't sit in it. Disregarding whether the Dragon King would agree, the 9 Wind Divine Dragons also had their pride. As the exclusive ride of the Dragon King, other than the Dragon King, even the Dragon Queen would have to inform the Dragon King in advance if they wanted to ride. The pride of the Divine Dragons was still there. Invincible also knew that with his lousy second-order God Emperor strength, it was already good enough for the divine dragons in the universe to carry him. He stood in front of the dragon's sedan with his head held high and chest out, scanning the surroundings. The few divine dragons let out roars and flew towards the 8 directions desolation at a terrifying speed. Those are 9 divine dragons. The Dragon King is coming! Where are they going? The 8 directions desolation? Are they going to destroy the 8 directions desolation? 9 divine dragons pulling a dragon palanquin. Hiss, the Dragon King should be out on patrol. On a planet not far away, a group of sanctuary powerhouses and disciples looked in the direction of the dragon roar in shock and guessed doubtfully. What a terrifying speed! But in the blink of an eye, the 9 dragons pulled the dragon palanquin and disappeared from their line of sight. Very soon, the news of 9 divine dragons pulling the dragon palanquin toward the Tian-Fa ancient heaven realm spread throughout the holy region. The entire Saint Ai was once again in discussion. Roar! In the vast starry sky, 9 divine dragons pulled the dragon palanquin. All sorts of demonic beasts and desolate beasts in the starry sky sensed the aura and immediately retreated far away. The speed of the wind god dragons was extremely fast, especially when they were led by 2 second-order god emperor realm wind god dragons. According to Wang Xian's estimation, they would need at most 10 days to cross the Tian-Fa ancient heaven region. Ugh, this speed is too fast. I can't see anything. Invincible stood in front of the dragon palanquin and squinted his eyes. If it weren't for the wind divine dragon resisting the impact of the speed, his body would have collapsed. Hee. Beside him, Tianjin looked at him and smiled. He waved his arm and said, "Here's a little toy for you." What is it? Invincible took it over and looked at the mirror-like object in front of him. Wow, this is good stuff. Thank you, Grandpa Tianjin. Invincible toyed with the mirror and revealed an excited look. Through the mirror, he could see a faraway place and slow down the surrounding scenery. Hee. Tianjin smiled faintly as he squinted his eyes and stood at the side. Invincible took the mirror and looked left and right. Dragon King, we're about to enter the Tian-Fa ancient heaven region. Should we fly or use the teleportation formation? Tianjin asked Wang Xian 2 days later. Let's use the teleportation formation. In the dragon palanquin, Wang Xian was nurturing the 5 elements great grindstone. He pondered for a moment before replying. Although the teleportation formation was a little troublesome, it was faster than flying. It could save about half the time. Yes, Dragon King. Dragon King, just sit in the dragon palanquin. There's no need to come out. Tianjin nodded his head and replied. Ao Feng, I'll send you a route. We'll leave from the teleportation formation of the planet, Tianjin said to the eldest wind divine dragon. All right. Ao Feng nodded his head. Soon, a message was sent to Ao Feng's mind. He scanned the surroundings. Head to the planet on the left. After sending the message to his brothers and sisters, the 9 wind divine dragons flew towards the nearest planet. When the planet with life appeared before them, the 9 wind divine dragons let out a deep roar and arrived above the planet in an instant. With a sweep of their minds, they sensed the location of the teleportation formation and moved. 1. In the next moment, they appeared above the teleportation formation. The huge figure cast a shadow on the ground. What's that? SSS. What's that? What a horrifying aura! Oh no! Is that a galactic beast? Be careful. What's that? They're pulling a palanquin behind them. The sudden appearance of the 9 wind divine dragons made everyone on the planet nervous and fearful. The Dragon King is on a journey. Let's borrow the teleportation formation here. Compared to other star regions, Tian-Fa ancient heaven region was lagging behind in terms of information. Tianjin stood beside the palanquin and spoke. His voice reverberated around the teleportation formation. Swish, 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 swish! Greetings, Dragon King. Greetings, Dragon King. Let's clean up the teleportation formation immediately. It's our honor that the Dragon King could come to our planet. In the next moment, experts flew out from the rooms below with fear and awe on their faces. They bowed their bodies and shouted with reverence on their faces. They were just short of kneeling down. There's no need to go through so much trouble. As soon as the sky formation said this, the 9 divine wind dragons flew towards the teleportation formation. The teleportation formation on every planet occupied a huge area. However, the size of the 9 wind divine dragons was too terrifying. They shrunk their size slightly and descended towards the teleportation formation. 1. Wrapped in energy, they teleported according to the route. Soon, their figures disappeared gradually. From their arrival to their departure, it took less than a minute. Divine dragons. Those are the 9 divine dragons of the Dragon Palace. The one in the palanquin must be the Dragon King. That aura is too horrifying. Is this the might of the Dragon Palace? Is this the might of the divine dragons? 9 divine dragons pulling the palanquin. Are they heading towards the 8 desolations to destroy the 8 desolations? At the side, more than a dozen experts roared in shock. Chapter 2894. It's the Dragon Palace, the third-ranked force in the bedazzling starry sky. I heard that during the great battle between the Battle Dragon God Emperor and God Emperor Ling Shui, the Dragon Palace's Dragon King and the others directly passed through the center of the battlefield. A peak Divine King expert shouted at them and was killed by the experts of the Dragon Palace. That battle did not start because of the Dragon Palace's Dragon King. What kind of creature is that? It looks like the legendary Divine Dragon. It's so domineering. Are those 9 creatures at the Emperor God level? It feels like Dragon Palace is much stronger than the legends say. When everyone saw the 9 wind divine dragons disappear into the teleportation formation with the dragon sedan, the surrounding people discussed in astonishment. They were shocked by the scene just now. Humph, what do you know? When the dozen or so experts guarding the teleportation array heard the discussions around them, one of them snorted coldly. Be careful when you meet the Dragon King and experts from Dragon Palace in the future. Now that Dragon Palace has annihilated the Imperial Court and the Sorcerer Association, the Dragon King of Dragon Palace led the 9 divine dragons to sweep across the entire Heavenly Sorcerer region. 8 Emperor God experts were killed by Dragon Palace. More than 1 million Divine King experts from the Sorcerer Association were killed. Even the sorcerers were killed by the Dragon King in seconds. Now that Heavenly Sorcerer region and the Imperial Star region are under the control of Dragon Palace, the Dragon King is extremely powerful. It's hard to say who is the strongest force in the entire bedazzling starry sky, but I'm sure that Dragon Palace isn't weaker than Azure Glaze. That expert reminded everyone around him with a cold expression. As the most chaotic Tian Fa ancient heaven region, there wasn't even a communication network. Most of the people didn't receive any news about Dragon Palace. However, as a powerhouse on a planet and a core member of a force, they still knew about this matter. Moreover, their leader sent the news to all his subordinates personally to remind them to be careful. After all, they had to pass through Tian Fa ancient heaven region from the Imperial Star region to the 8 Directions region. SSS what? Dragon Palace annihilated the Imperial Court and the Sorcerer Association and swept across a region? Dragon Palace has divine dragons? Real divine dragons? When the surrounding people heard the expert, they were shocked and in disbelief. Soon, the news that the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace was sitting on a dragon palanquin pulled by 9 divine dragons spread out at a terrifying speed. The gigantic wind divine dragon was exceptionally eye-catching. As soon as it appeared, it attracted countless people's attention. When they sensed the terrifying aura coming from the wind divine dragon and learned that the Dragon King was in a hurry, the powerhouses of each planet respectfully cleared the teleportation portals and let them go first. The prestige of the Dragon Palace shocked the entire star region. Greetings, Dragon King! After traversing half of Tian Fa ancient heaven region, they arrived at a planet. As soon as he stepped out of the teleportation formation, a respectful voice rang out. The 9 wind divine dragons glanced at the old man in front of them and ignored him. Tianjin looked at him in surprise, then nodded at the old man. It was an old man with a few thousand people behind him. Every single one of them was a god king. This old man was a god emperor level existence. One of the leaders of Tian Fa ancient heaven region. Wang Xian and the rest did not stay any longer. They entered the teleportation formation and left immediately. Sect Master, they didn't even stop. This is... Seeing that the Dragon King and the others had left, the person standing beside the old man frowned and spoke with slight displeasure. Those 9 are divine dragons, the legendary divine dragons. 3 of them are second-order god emperors. The old man standing beside the palanquin is the Sky Array god emperor. I feel that he has recovered to his peak. Any random divine dragon can annihilate all of us. That old man looked at the subordinates beside him and said calmly. Behind him, the group widened their eyes and the displeasure in their hearts disappeared immediately. What a joke. Someone who could be pulled by 3 second-order god emperor divine dragons, any one of them could annihilate them. Why would he care about them? Why would he come down to greet them? Honestly speaking, Sky Array God Emperor nodding his head at them was already being polite to them. That dragon palace is too strong! Sect Master, are they going to the 8 desolations? Are they going to destroy the 8 desolations? The group asked in shock. He, this is awesome. God Emperor! That old man is a God Emperor, and he is bowing to him respectfully. At the same time, in the void, invincible battle law roared with excitement. Even a dignified God Emperor would have to greet them respectfully when meeting them. They did not even need to pay attention to each other. This filled invincible battle law with pride, even though he was just basking in the light. But Dragon King was his boss. Who would dare to bully him in the future? Your bloodline is not bad, you can join the Dragon Palace. Sky Array looked at Invincible Battle Law and said with a smile. Grandpa Sky Array also said that my bloodline is not bad? Boss Wang said so too. My master also said so, but my master only knows that my bloodline potential is very high. As for how high it is, he said he doesn't know. Grandpa Sky Array, can you tell? Invincible Battle Law's eyes lit up. It's not a problem to become a universe's expert, Sky Array said with a smile. How strong? As strong as a divine dragon? Invincible Battle Law's eyes lit up. Then you're thinking too much. Sky Array chuckled and shook his head. Hearing this, Invincible Battle Law revealed a helpless expression. My requirements are not high, I just want to advance to the God Emperor realm. As he spoke, he asked curiously, Grandpa Sky Array, what's the realm above the God Emperor? How strong is the strongest in the universe? Above the Void God Emperor is the universe supremacy, and above the universe supremacy is the universe dominator. Above the universe dominator, there seems to be another realm. The universe supremacy is the pinnacle of the universe. Sky Array murmured with yearning in his eyes. Now that he had become Dragon Witch, he had some understanding of the levels of the universe. There are 9 transformations of the Divine Dragon. 9 transformations are the supremacy, and 9 transformations are the dominator. Above the dominator is the creation of Heaven Yuan. At this time, Wang Xian's voice sounded. Sitting in the dragon sedan, he heard the conversation between Sky Array and Invincible Battle Law and said, The Divine Dragon race was the pinnacle of the universe. But after the 9 transformations of the Divine Dragon, it wasn't the end of cultivation. If that was the end, the Divine Dragon race wouldn't be extinct even if they were the strongest in the universe. 9 transformations of the Divine Dragon, 9 transformations into one. The consolidation realm was the universe dominator. This was the true expert that dominated the universe. In the past, many dragon kings were at this realm. And after this realm, there was the creation of Heaven Yuan. As for how to improve this realm, it all depended on one's luck. Seize the creation of heaven and earth. Chapter 2895. Paragons, Sovereigns, Heavenly Primal Fortune. Upon hearing Wang Xian's words, Invincible Warrior mumbled to himself. That means I can only reach the universe supremacy realm? Sigh, isn't this too weak? He said helplessly with a bitter face. That's enough, kid. The core members of the universe's peak races are only at this level. Rulers are the experts of the peak clans. Tianjin patted Invincible Fighter's head and chuckled. Oh no, reporting to Lord God Emperor Wasteland, we received news from the Tian Fa Ancient Heaven region. The Dragon King of the Dragon Palace is leading 9 divine dragons towards us. At the same time, in the center of the 8 wastelands, a protector of the 8 wastelands came to a study with a terrified expression and reported in a terrified voice. Is the news true? In the study room, Emperor God Desolation, who was sitting inside, immediately stood up and roared with an unusually embarrassed expression. Sir, the news is true. There are some pictures from that side. Protector Bahuang said with a sullen face. Who? Emperor God Desolation closed his eyes and his face was extremely embarrassed. The Octoterra protector in front of him was a little restless. As the protector of a large faction, a peak god king expert, he rarely felt so uneasy. But this time, he really panicked. The Dragon King is here. The Dragon King could sweep across the heavenly witchcraft domain, and none of the Immortal King experts could escape. If they came to attack Ba Huang, none of them would be able to escape. What should he do now? 8 desolate protectors looked at God Emperor Desolation anxiously. Inform the other God Emperors and all the disciples of the 8 desolates to prepare to retreat. After a few seconds of silence, God Emperor Desolation's voice was filled with unwillingness. The protector of the 8 desolations was slightly taken aback, but he immediately nodded. Yes, my lord. He immediately walked out and heaved a sigh of relief. He was really afraid of going against the Dragon Palace. Running away was the best choice. He immediately began to inform the other God Emperors and God King's disciples. In the next few hours, everyone in the Octoterra cosmos discovered that the God Kings of the Octoterra cosmos flew towards the central planet. This caused everyone in the surroundings to be slightly surprised. What were they trying to do? However, they soon discovered that the disciples of the 8 desolates seemed to have disappeared. Dragon King, the world is just ahead! One day later, in the void in front of the 8 desolations and 6 directions, Tianjin stood up slowly. He looked at the chaotic 8 desolations and 6 directions and spoke to Wang Xian. Wang Xian nodded his head. Boss Wang, I saw on the communication network that the experts of Ba Huang seem to have disappeared. At this moment, Invincible looked at his communication stone plate and frowned. Oh? Wang Xian opened the dragon sedan and raised his eyebrows. The news from the heavenly witchcraft domain must have reached here after such a long time. After understanding our strength, Ba Huang can only flee, haha. Tianjin smiled coldly. However, now that my strength has broken through, I want to see where they can escape to. When the 9 divine dragons entered the 8 desolations and 6 directions domain, dragon roars resounded throughout the entire star field. It represented the arrival of the Dragon Palace. The 9 divine dragons swayed their huge bodies and flew straight to the base of Ba Huang. They flew at high speed. Soon, in the starry sky of Ba Huang, someone saw the 9 divine dragons pulling a dragon sedan shuttling back and forth. Seeing this mighty and vast scene, everyone's faces were filled with shock. SSS, this is the divine dragon of the Dragon Palace. The one in the dragon sedan must be the Dragon King. The Dragon King of the Dragon Palace is here. Are these the divine dragons of the Dragon Palace? How terrifying! No wonder all the experts of Ba Huang seem to have disappeared. They must have received news of the Dragon King's attack. The Dragon King of the Dragon Palace didn't send many people over. Is the Dragon King so confident that he can annihilate them with just these forces? The Emperor Gods of Ba Huang naturally know how many forces the Dragon Palace has sent over. They know that the Dragon Palace can annihilate them all with just these forces. When the 9 divine dragons pulled the dragon sedan shuttle back and forth in Ba Huang, it didn't take long for a storm to sweep through the surroundings. All eyes were on the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace, the group of divine dragons, and Ba Huang. But at this time, According to the news they received, the experts of Ba Huang had probably escaped. Because there was no news of the experts of Ba Huang for the whole day. Emperor God of Ba Huang gave the order yesterday for all the Divine King experts to gather at Ba Huang planet. They must have gone into hiding. I'm almost 100% sure that some experts passed by Ba Huang planet. There is no one on the planet. All the experts of Ba Huang have escaped. How ironic. Not long ago, Ba Huang said that he would teach the Dragon King a lesson. Now that the Dragon King has led the 9 divine dragons to attack us, the people of Ba Huang have escaped. This is the power of the Dragon Palace. If they don't escape, all of them will die. Escaping is the right choice. The Dragon Palace is too strong. Ba Huang is strong, but the Dragon Palace is stronger. They are so strong that they escaped directly when they got the news of the Dragon King's arrival. The might of the divine dragons, the might of the Dragon Palace. The news was boiling in the communication network of Ba Huang. They were also shocked by the news of Ba Huang escaping. Ba Huang was once the top 3 in the resplendent starry sky. Now they had to escape from the Dragon Palace. This also reflected the strength of the Dragon Palace. The entire Ba Huang was discussing about the strength of the Dragon Palace and the divine dragons of the Dragon Palace. Dragon King, the base of Ba Huang is right ahead. There is no one on it. TSK, I didn't expect them to abandon this blessed place. Under the attention of the entire Ba Huang, Wang Xian and the rest arrived at the base of Ba Huang. Seeing that there was no longer any vitality on the surface, Tianjin revealed a mocking expression. Let's go and take a look, Wang Xian said to the 9 divine dragons. Roar! 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 Soon, Wang Xian and the rest arrived in the sky. Wang Xian walked out of the dragon sedan and scanned the area below with his yin-yang 5 elements dragon eyes. They had taken away all the treasures that could be taken away. Let me take a look! Tianjin's body moved and he flew down to the ground. When he landed, he waved his arm to collect the aura of this area and started to set up an array. Woof woof! Soon, a dog formed from the wind attribute walked out of the formation and let out a low growl. Tianjin frowned slightly. The dog gradually changed into the shape of an array diagram. Chapter 2896. Dragon King, I can't find their aura. I can't find where they are hiding. Tianjin flew to the front of the dragon sedan and reported to Wang Xian with a grim expression. With his current strength, he was confident that the other party wouldn't be able to escape his detection. However, he couldn't find any information now. Over 1,000,000 divine kings and a group of emperor gods had disappeared just like that. There was no trace at all. Since 8 Desolation could become such a huge force, they must have their own trump card. It doesn't matter if I can't find them. Wang Xian frowned slightly and said, Dragon King, this base of 8 Desolation is a paradise in 8 Desolation and 6 directions. I think we can build a dragon palace here. I don't believe that those guys from 8 Desolation didn't leave any traces. I also don't believe that they would give up their long-established base just like that. Tianjin's eyes flickered with coldness. Wang Xian nodded. Building a dragon palace here would make it much more convenient for him to travel to 8 Desolation and 6 directions in the future. Swish, swish, swish. At this moment, figures flew over one by one. Huh! Wang Xian looked over and scanned them one by one. Hee, Boss Wang, Tianjin is here. She came with her father. My master is here too. At this time, Invincible, who was holding a communication stone plate, said excitedly when he saw the figures flying over. Greetings, Dragon King! Soon, a group of people flew to the front and greeted Wang Xian respectfully. The group was led by 6 old men. Each of them had the strength of an emperor god. Behind them were a group of disciples, grand disciples, and descendants. Wang Xian swept his gaze across them and nodded his head slightly at them. Invincible! At this moment, Unrivaled's lover, Tianjin, who was standing behind an old man, called out to Unrivaled beside him. Hee, Tianjin! Invincible immediately flew over and laughed. How was it, Tianqin? I came here in a sedan pulled by 9 divine dragons. Am I cool? In the future, no one in the entire resplendent starry sky will dare to bully us. If anyone dares to bully us, I'll get Boss Wang to kill them. Those cowards from the 8 desolates have all escaped. I don't know where they went. In the future, the Dragon Palace will build a Dragon Palace here, Invincible said as he raised his head slightly. His face was filled with pride. The current him was even more arrogant than before. In the past, he only had the backing of the God Emperor Master. Now, he had the backing of the Dragon Palace. With the strength of the Dragon Palace, even the God Emperor would not dare to provoke him. Kid, if you don't behave yourself in the future, don't blame me for being impolite. Upper Water God Emperor flew over from the side and slapped Invincible Warrior's head heavily. Obviously, he was a little dissatisfied with his disciple running to the woman's side instead of coming to his side. Haha, Brother Shang Shui, you have accepted a good disciple. Beside Heaven Heart, the old man said with a smile. The more he looked at Invincible Battle Law, the more satisfied he was. Not only does this kid have monstrous talent, but his background is also very terrifying. This time, when they found out that the Dragon King was coming, the group of unaffiliated God Emperors decided to pay a visit to the Dragon King. At the very least, he had to express his goodwill. Haha, if not for this kid's talent and likability, I would have broken his legs based on his behavior. Upper Water God Emperor laughed heartily and said with a smile. Now, he could finally bask in the glory of his disciple. Everyone, we will be building the Dragon Palace here and taking over the 8 wastelands. Please take care of us in the future. At this time, Wang Xian cupped his fists at the group of God Emperors and said plainly, If the Dragon King needs anything in the future, just let us know. The group of God Emperors immediately replied. They looked down at the empty 8 wastelands and sighed in their hearts. I wonder where 8 wastelands has escaped to. The Dragon King and the rest have arrived at our 8 wastelands and are now at our 8 wastelands. At the same time, in the depths of 8 wastelands, in a very special secret realm, millions of people lived around it. At the forefront, 14 God Emperors from 8 wastelands stood there with bitter expressions. At the side, the Emperor of the Imperial Court looked around expressionlessly. After we leave this time, the Dragon King and the rest will definitely occupy our place. That is one of the top grotto heavens in bedazzling starry sky. They won't give it up. Once they occupy our place, one of the God Emperors said with a bitter expression. He did not finish his sentence, but everyone around him understood. Emperor God Desolation, are we just going to hide here forever? Like rats on the street? One of the God Emperors said with a bitter expression. How's the concealment effect here? The Heaven Array is the strongest array master in bedazzling starry sky. Once we are found, all of us will die. Before Emperor God Desolation could reply, the Emperor Lord beside him asked. This is a secret realm of a powerful race. No matter how strong the Heaven Array is, they won't be able to find us here. Moreover, even if they can find us, they won't be able to enter without the key. Emperor God Desolation said with a sullen face. Once we go out now, we will die. Upon hearing his response, the Emperor Lord nodded his head and said to the other 8 wastelands God Emperors. Then we will stay here for tens of millions of years, for the rest of our lives? One of the God Emperors bellowed furiously. Unless Dragon Palace perishes in bedazzling starry sky, we can forget about going back. The Emperor Lord said expressionlessly. He lifted his head slightly and continued. They are too strong and the speed of their improvement is too fast. I am sure that after occupying the resources of Witchcraft Association, they will be even stronger now. When the experts from 8 wastelands heard the Emperor Lord, they clenched their fists and shivered. They did not doubt the Emperor Lord's words. Currently, the Emperor Lord was the only one left in Imperial Court. If it wasn't for his belief in revenge, he would have fought Dragon Palace to the death. Staying here for the rest of our lives is worse than death. An Emperor God bellowed. There is another way, which is to enter the inner parts of 8 wastelands. Based on our understanding and investigation of 8 wastelands, 8 wastelands is the battlefield of the races in the center of the universe. After passing through 8 wastelands, the center of the universe is on the other side. Emperor God Desolation said slowly. Pass through 8 wastelands? His words caused the Emperor Gods to turn pale. Pass through 8 wastelands? Lord Desolation, this is a close shave, one of the Emperor Gods bellowed. I once met an expert from the other side in the depths of 8 wastelands, but he ignored me. At this time, Emperor God Desolation suddenly said, "Huh!" Chapter 2897. The 8 Desolation continent had always been regarded as a battlefield of ancient races. There were secret areas, divine weapons, corpses, legacies, herb gardens, and many other things. Some speculated that the other side of the 8 Desolation continent was the center of the universe. Some experts wanted to bypass the 8 Desolation continent and go to the other side. However, after flying for a few years, they found themselves lost in the vast starry sky. In the starry sky, many people could easily get lost without a star map. The universe was so vast, and no one dared to fly as they pleased. Emperor God Desolation, did you say that you saw someone from the other side in the depths of the 8 Desolation continent? Asked the Emperor Lord, looking at Emperor God Desolation in shock. The other party's strength is very strong. He gives me an unfathomable feeling. Just a glance from him is enough to make my soul tremble. At that time, there was a barrier between us. I'm sure that he was an expert from the center of the universe. He seemed to be very disdainful of our direction. Emperor God Desolation's eyes flickered. What kind of existence could make Emperor God Desolation's soul tremble with just a glance? Everyone was shocked. We only have 2 choices now. Either we stay here, or we go to the other side and find an expert to help us. The Emperor Lord said with a gloomy face. Find an expert to help us? How is that possible? An Emperor God of 8 Desolation said directly. It's not impossible. The Emperor Lord said plainly. 8 Desolation is also a treasure land. It's much better than the Imperial Court Witchinian. In the paradise of 8 Desolation, some members of Dragon Palace were teleported over after Wang Xian finished building the Dragon Palace. They looked at the entire nest of 8 Desolation with astonishment on their faces. Xiao Xian, in the future, we will have Imperial Star Domain, Heavenly Witch Domain, and 8 Desolation Continent. Our territory will be the largest in the resplendent starry sky. A group of girls flew in the sky, looking at the fairyland-like world with excitement. 2 domains and 8 Desolation Continent. The territory of Dragon Palace was the largest in the entire resplendent starry sky. Moreover, in the communication network of 8 Desolation Continent, there were already people saying that Dragon Palace was the strongest in the entire resplendent starry sky. There weren't many who refuted this. Just the Dragon King and the 9 divine dragons were enough to make all the Emperor Gods flee with their experts. Luli couldn't achieve such power and awe. In addition, the Dragon Palace had the legendary Divine Dragon. Now, the Dragon Palace was known as the most powerful force in the resplendent starry sky. Wang Xian wasn't too concerned about the ranking of the bedazzling star forces. After a month, the Dragon Palace had taken over all the planets and the 8 Desolates. This increased the daily income of the Dragon Palace by a lot. In the following period of time, apart from the sacred leaders coming to visit, nothing major happened. As for the Dragon Palace, no other forces dared to provoke it. The Dragon Palace fell into silence. The members of the Dragon Palace also enjoyed a rare leisure time. They walked out of the Dragon Palace and wandered around the Imperial Star Territory, the Heavenly Wizard Territory, and the 8 Wilderness Continent. Later, Prime Minister Turtle organized some experts of the Dragon Palace to enter the 8 Desolation Continent to see if they could obtain some treasures. As the days calmed down, Wang Xian was also very free. He walked around with the girls. Dragon King, a war has broken out in the Lili domain. 8 months later, Prime Minister Turtle reported a piece of news to Wang Xian. Today, the Dragon Palace had some spies in the major galaxies, mainly to investigate some important matters. When he heard that there was a war in the Liuli domain, Wang Xian was slightly stunned. What's going on? Why is there a war in such a huge domain like the Liuli domain? Wang Xian looked at Prime Minister Turtle in shock. The Liuli domain was the first major domain, and the former number 1 force, Liuli, was in the center. Based on what he knew, the rules of the Liuli domain were very fair. Why would there be a war? Dragon King, it's the problem of the two neighboring domains, the Qi Mei domain and the Mechanic Emperor domain. As Prime Minister Turtle spoke, he handed over 2 sets of information. One was the Mechanic Emperor domain, and the other was the Qi Mei domain. Those who are not of the same race must have a different heart. Looking at the 2 sets of information, Wang Xian murmured. The rulers of the Mechanic Emperor domain and the Qi Mei domain were not humans. One was a robot, and the other was a wild beast. Dragon King, don't you find the creatures of the Qi Mei domain familiar? We used to call the creatures of the Qi Mei domain evil, Qi Mei Wang Liang evil. According to the information we received, the evil creatures of the Qi Mei domain exist in the Devil's Denver. They have a special ability, summoning expedition. Through a special contract, they can summon the Devil's Denver. After summoning, they will be used by the Devil's Denver. However, the Devil's Den will infect the intelligence of other creatures, turning them into evil creatures. Once they become evil creatures, they will become part of the evil creatures and be assimilated. They will invade a galaxy to strengthen themselves. This time, I heard that the Devil's Den that was summoned out of the Qi Mei domain has returned. They want to invade the Liuli domain, Prime Minister Turtle said from the side. So those evil creatures came from the Qi Mei domain in the resplendent starry sky. Wang Xian looked at the information about the Qi Mei domain and mumbled to himself as he listened to Prime Minister Turtle. When the Mechanic Emperor domain saw the evil creatures attacking the Liuli domain, they also organized a mechanical army to attack the Liuli domain. If the robots want to develop, they need a huge amount of resources. Now that the Mechanic Emperor domain has been exploited by them, they have to go to the new Starry Sky domain to improve themselves. Secondly, in the Liuli domain, there is a type of glazed dual-color stone that contains the nomological energy of earth and gold. This glazed dual-color stone is very useful for the robots. They can use it to create a strong army of earth and gold robots. Now, the 2 major domains are constantly in conflict with the Liuli domain. There seems to be a battle between god emperors. Prime Minister Turtle continued to report to Wang Xian. Be it the robots or the evil creatures, they were all enemies with humans. However, their strength was also terrifying. If they did not provoke humans, humans would not provoke them either. The strength of the robots used to be ranked second in the resplendent starry sky, second only to the Liuli domain. As for the evil creatures of the Qi Mei domain, there had never been a large-scale battle in the past. Therefore, no one knew exactly how strong they were. During the war in the Liuli domain, more than a dozen god emperors appeared on the side of the evil creatures. The Liuli domain can grow stronger under the threat of the 2 major domains. Their strength should not be underestimated. Continue to pay attention. Wang Xian nodded his head and said to Prime Minister Turtle. The Liuli domain was further away from the Imperial Star domain, the Heavenly Witch domain, and the 8 Wilderness Northern Alliance. They were adjacent to the east of the sacred region. He didn't pay much attention to the war that was going on there. The war had not reached their side yet. Even if it reached their side, Wang Xian was not worried. Chapter 2898. Backed by the Dragon Palace, boundless magic power one time past. It had been a year since Prime Minister Turtle reported about the war in Liuli region. Over the past year, Wang Xian had received news from time to time. Today, the Dragon Palace was unusually lively. Because it was the New Year. The New Year was a festival in China, and also a festival on Earth for Wang Xian. Due to the rapid development of the Dragon Palace and the war, Wang Xian and the rest had not celebrated the New Year. After a long time, his sister, Xiaoyu, and the girls suddenly mentioned it. Wang Xian was prepared to celebrate the new year. Located on the Dragon Island in the Imperial Star Domain, the entire island was bustling. The people in the Imperial Star Domain did not know what day it was, but they knew that the Dragon King and the rest were celebrating the new year. Although they did not understand, the entire Dragon Island was unusually lively. As the Dragon Palace was located, many people from the Heavenly Witch Domain came here for a holiday. Even people from all over the world came to the Imperial Star Domain for a holiday. Due to the rule of the Dragon Palace, the world had its own order. Anyone who wanted to kill someone for no reason would have to pay the price. With the suppression of the Dragon Palace, no one dared to offend them. It's been a long time since we celebrated the New Year. I miss it. The main Dragon Palace was decorated with lanterns and streamers. Roving Girl was leading a group of maidservants to decorate the place. Beside the underwater mountains in the Dragon Palace, Wang Xian, a group of girls, and a group of friends walked and chatted. I did not expect the Dragon King to rise from a small civilized planet. Beside them, Hong Fengyan exclaimed to Wang Xian and the rest. Hee, I also did not expect to reach this stage after obtaining the inheritance of the Divine Dragon. Wang Xian said with a smile and a tinge of emotions. Hee, Boss Wang, this is just the beginning. In the future, Boss Wang will be a great existence who will unify the universe. Invincible Battle Law flattered him. Tianqin, who was beside him, patted him speechlessly. Hee, let's go and watch the fireworks and have a meal together. Wang Xian chuckled. The group of friends flew out of the Dragon Palace and came to the sky. Swish, 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 swish. Swish, 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 swish. Countless people on the Dragon Island were filled with curiosity and surprise when they saw the fireworks. Fireworks didn't exist in the Imperial Star region. Cheers! After admiring the fireworks, everyone went to the Dragon King Hall and toasted. Wang Xian raised his glass with a beaming face and toasted the crowd. Hong Fengyan and her disciples, John F.A. Woody, his master, and his girlfriend Tianqin. There were also experts from Dragon Palace. While they were eating, the upper water god Emperor took out the communication stone plate and was slightly shocked when he saw the message on it. What is it, Master? Invincible, who was at the side, frowned slightly and asked with concern when he saw the huge change in his master's expression. Master will be going to the Colored Glaze region in a while for the matters over there. The upper water god Emperor closed his eyes slightly and said slowly, This? Master, I'll go with you. Invincible was slightly taken aback, but he quickly replied, You don't have to go. Just stay here in the Dragon Palace. The upper water god Emperor looked at him and said, How can I do that? Master, how can I, as your disciple, not follow you back home? I'm invincible, and I'm not an unfilial person. Master, you should know this very well. I have such a noble character. Invincible lifted his head and said to his master, Great. The upper water god Emperor patted his shoulder happily with a smile on his face. Brother Invincible, you, Tianqin, who was at the side, called out softly, It's fine. I'll go out with Master and will be back soon. Invincible said to Tianqin with assurance, I haven't been back for 1,000,000 years. Hee, let's drink. The upper water god Emperor sighed as he raised his glass to his disciple. Throughout the entire banquet, no one noticed the conversation between the upper water god Emperor and his disciple. Everyone was having a great time. 2 hours later, the banquet ended. The group of girls met up and went for a walk on the streets of the Dragon Island. Wang Xian came to the study room beside the bedroom. Prime Minister Turtle, what's the matter? Wang Xian asked Prime Minister Turtle with a smile as he sat on the chair in the middle. Dragon King, there's news from the Liuli region. The situation there is a little crisis. 5 Emperor gods from the Liuli region have fallen a day ago. Prime Minister Turtle walked over and handed a document to Wang Xian. Now that the Dragon Palace had occupied 3 territories in the bedazzling starry sky, it was necessary for them to understand the situation in the other places. 5 Emperor gods have fallen? Wang Xian's expression changed slightly. Is it that serious? Over a dozen Emperor gods from the evil faction have attacked the Lili region directly, while the robots from the Mechanic Emperor region have sent out a terrifying mechanical army. In order to deal with the evil faction, one Emperor god has fallen. In order to deal with the Mechanic Emperor region, 4 have fallen. The situation is a little serious. Prime Minister Turtle said. Send Roving Demon and the rest to understand the strength of the evil faction and the Mechanic Emperor region. We need to make preparations in advance. Wang Xian instructed Prime Minister Turtle. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. The Mechanic Emperor region and the Enchantment region were the enemies of mankind. Although they were far away, the Dragon Palace still had to make some preparations. Boss Wang! At this time, Invincible's voice came from outside. Her? Come in. Wang Xian looked over and said immediately. Boss Wang, I'm here to bid farewell to you. Invincible walked in and said to Wang Xian. Farewell? Where are you going? Wang Xian looked at him and asked curiously. I'm going on a long trip to the Lili region. Invincible replied. What are you going to the Lili region for? Wang Xian was taken aback when he heard him and revealed a shocked look. Boss Wang, you might not know, but my master is actually a disciple of the Lili region. I heard that my master had a conflict with his father and family, and hasn't been back for 1,000,000 years. It seems like something has happened in the Lili region. My master is going back and I'm going with him. Invincible said. The Upper Water God Emperor is from the Lili region? Wang Xian raised an eyebrow and looked at Invincible. Be careful when you go to the Lili region. He reminded Wang Xian. Don't worry, Boss Wang. With the dragon instrument that you gave me, there won't be any danger. Moreover, the Lili region is very strong. Although there is a war over there, my safety is still guaranteed. Invincible patted his chest. Hee, I'll lend this to you for self-defense. Wang Xian smiled and waved his arm. The immortal slaying gourd on the progenitor tree appeared in his hand. He extended his palm and said to Invincible. Chapter 2899, with the Dragon Palace at his back too. Inche? Boss Wang, what's this? Invincible looked at the immortal slaying gourd in front of him. His eyes lit up as he looked at the vibrant lights on it. He couldn't help but grab it in his hands. Immortal slaying gourd. There are quite a number of immortal slaying swords in it. The wind-attributed immortal slaying swords should be able to kill a first-order god emperor expert. There are 20 of them in there. The immortal slaying swords of other attributes can only kill peak immortal god king existences. Wang Xian said to him. Wow, Boss Wang, this is a supreme treasure. How can you lend me such a precious treasure? Are you giving me such a powerful treasure so that I can conquer Lili? Hee! Invincible stared at the immortal slaying gourd as he shouted. It's for you to protect your life. Wang Xian smiled at him. Hee, what danger can there be if I follow my master? Moreover, if my master returns, he will be a disciple of Lili. I, Invincible, will have another strong background. Invincible squinted his eyes as he spoke. Hee brat, 5 god emperors have fallen in Lili domain 2 days ago. Lili domain isn't safe now. The Dragon King is lending you this treasure to protect your life. Prime Minister Turtle teased him from the side. What? 5 god emperors are dead? What the heck? Is the war in Lili domain that terrifying? Invincible jumped up immediately and exclaimed with his eyes wide open. Why don't you go and take a look? Prime Minister Turtle smiled at him. No wonder Master looks so terrible. Could it be that his family members have fallen? While I, Invincible, don't want to die young. Boss Wang, do you have any more treasures? Lend me 2 more to protect myself. Invincible said with a tearful face. No more. Let's go. Your master won't send you to your death. If you encounter any danger, just return to your own god kingdom. Anyway, your god kingdom is here in the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian waved his hand and said speechlessly. Really, Boss Wang? Invincible lowered his head and asked again, a little unwilling to give up. That's all. If you die, I'll send experts from Dragon Palace to bring your corpse back," said Wang Xian. "Witching, I'm Boss Wang's little brother." Invincible shook his head and walked out with a long face. Wang Xian looked at his back and smiled. It was enough to give him a celestial slaying gourd to save his life. If the Water God Emperor brought him there, he would not put him in danger. After all, this was the precious disciple of the High Water God Emperor. I didn't expect Lily region to be so dangerous now. Master, that stubborn donkey, had a conflict with his family and didn't return for 1,000,000 years. Now that he suddenly returned, something must have happened to his family. Given the temper of this stubborn donkey, I reckon he'll go all out against the person who killed his kin. Fuck, 5 God Emperors are dead. This is dangerous. No, I need to bring more life-saving items. Invincible muttered to himself as he walked out of Wang Xian's study room. His eyes were darting around. He moved and immediately flew towards the location of the dragon cave. Grandpa Sky Array, Grandpa Sky Array, your biological grandson is here. Invincible shouted as he came to the front of the dragon cave of Sky Array. Tianjin, who was in his dragon palace, was displeased when he heard Invincible's words. Brat, what's the matter? Tianjin shouted at him. Hee, Grandpa Sky Array, I'm coming in. Invincible chuckled as he walked in. In the dragon palace, Tianjin was reading the sorcerer's secret manual, while a few dragon sorcerers were studying something beside him. Invincible walked in, squinted his eyes and looked around. His eyes were beaming as though he was a thief. Brat, spit it out, Tianjin said to him. Grandpa Sky Array, you have to save me, Grandpa Sky Array. Invincible's expression changed instantly as tears flowed from his eyes. He pounced over and hugged Tianjin's thigh. Sob, 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 Grandpa Sky Array, save me. It seems like I always bring you all kinds of delicacies. He cried and shouted with great acting skills. Brat, just spit it out. Tianjin stared at him and said, Grandpa Sky Array, I'm going to Lili region with my master. There's a war in Lili region now. Boss Wang said that 5 emperor gods died in Lili region 2 days ago. I'm guessing that it's my master's kin who died. If I were to go to the battlefield, given my strength, I'd be courting death. Invincible wailed. Oh, don't worry. Your master won't send you to your death. Tianjin glanced at him and said plainly, No way, Grandpa Sky Array. It's better to be safe than sorry. If I die, who's going to bring you good wine and delicacies in the future? If I die, you'll have no descendants. Invincible shouted in an exaggerated manner. Scram! Tianjin kicked him away with a sullen face and waved his arm. Wang! A piece of bloody cloth hung on the wall landed on Invincible's body. Take this and scram. This is the sage's scar. After my modification, it can ensure that you won't die under the bombardment of an emperor god for 10 minutes. Tianjin said to him. When it reaches its limit, it will disappear automatically and return to me. Wah, Grandpa Sky Array, I love you so much. Invincible's eyes lit up as he shouted loudly. He caressed the sage's scar on his body, and his heart was filled with excitement. However, his eyes fell on a flute hanging on the wall, and he pursed his lips. Grandpa Sky Array, now that I have this to defend myself, can you give me another one to fight with? Grandpa Sky Array, what's that flute for? Can you lend it to me? Invincible pointed at the dirt yellow flute and asked. He had seen the sage's scar on his body placed together with that flute. The sage's scar was a supreme treasure of the Emperor God realm, and that flute wouldn't be any worse. Tianjin stared at him and raised his brows. Grandpa Sky Array, your grandson's life! Invincible begged in a low voice. That's the control of Earth. When the flute is blown, it can condense an Earth-attributed First-Order God Emperor God Realm monster to battle. This treasure, along with the sage's scar on your body, is a supreme treasure of the Shaman Union. Since you call me Grandpa, I won't be stingy and can lend it to you. Just like the sage's scar, once there's a risk of the treasure being stolen or destroyed, it will disappear immediately. Tianjin said indifferently. No problem, no problem. Grandpa Sky, you really dote on me. Invincible's eyes lit up as he replied loudly. It's the new year. Kowtow to this old man 100 times, and I'll help you set up an array on the control of Earth, leaving behind a trace of your soul. You can activate it when the time comes, Tianjin said to Invincible as he sat on the chair and looked at him. Invincible's face darkened when he heard this. Chapter 2900, Backed by the Dragon Palace, Boundless Magic Power 3 Bam Bam Bam. Banging sounds came from where the heavenly formation resided. Heh heh heh. You are older than me anyway. I won't lose out by calling you Grandpa. I won't lose out by kowtowing to you either. Looks like I'll have to hug Elder Celestial Array's thigh tightly in the future. Not long after, Invincible walked out of the room with a smile on his face. The treasure in my hands is simply heaven-defying, killing a First-Order God Emperor like a stray dog, ka. No, I have to go to Big Brother Devil 8 Branches to see if there are any treasures. Invincible's eyes lit up and he immediately flew towards the Yaki Demon Sha. Oh! Kill me, kill me! When they arrived in front of the dragon cave where the Yamada Demon Fiend resided, they heard an incomparably painful scream. This won't do, Demon Fiend. This poison is a little weak. It won't have much effect on God Emperors. Sigh, it's indeed a little difficult to deal with. The poison we've concocted can't threaten the God Emperor. The helpless voices of Devil Fiend and Devil Fiend could be heard. These two brothers are indeed abnormal. Invincible stood at the door and murmured. He could still hear the screams coming from inside. 5 months ago, a God Emperor suddenly appeared in the heavenly witchcraft domain. This God Emperor was an old man who had been in seclusion in the heavenly witch domain for hundreds of thousands of years. According to him, he had been in seclusion for 500,000 years. He didn't come out for 500,000 years just to break through to the God Emperor realm. Finally, the heavens did not disappoint those who waited. After 500,000 years, he finally broke through. After breaking through, this fellow was even more arrogant. When he came out, he suppressed the entire planet with his might. Many weak people died under his pressure. However, he did not care about the deaths of ordinary people at all. In the end, this guy was unlucky. The news was immediately spread to the Dragon and Phoenix Divine Dynasty, and Hakone Demon Fiend and Yamada Demon Fiend learned about it. They said that they were short of people to experiment on, so they brought a Wind Divine Dragon and attacked. In the end, that God Emperor was punished the moment he broke through. That guy was taken to the Dragon Palace in a daze and was used as a poison tester for the Yaki Devil Sha. Cough cough, Big Brother Yamada no Demon Fiend, your little brother is invincible and has come to pay a visit. Invincible shouted at the door. Hey, little brother, you're here. Come in, come in. Demonfian's enthusiastic voice came from inside. All right, all right. Battle Law Invincible walked in and saw an incomparably miserable old man tied up inside. His body trembled. However, his heart was filled with excitement. In the Dragon Palace, the most shameless and cunning people were none other than these two big brothers. It was definitely useful to get some life-saving items from these two big brothers. Two big brothers, I'm invincible in battle. I have something to ask of you two big brothers. Invincible Warrior immediately began to cry and complain. Every time he called him Big Brother, a snot and a tear. Brat, don't play tricks here. It's useless. If you have anything to say, just say it. Orochi glanced at him and said directly. Hee, the two of you are so straightforward, so handsome. Big Brother, I'm going to the Colored Glaze region. Do you know the current situation there? Even 5 God Emperors have died. I'm afraid I won't be able to keep my life if I go with Master this time. Two big brothers, see if there's anything that can save my life. Anything for defense or attack will do. As the younger brother of the two big brothers and the follower of the Dragon King, I can't possibly embarrass the Dragon Palace when I'm outside. All right, we got it. Battle Law Invincible wanted to continue crying but was interrupted by Demon Fiend. We know what you're thinking. You can't embarrass the Dragon Palace when you're outside. It just so happens that we have some new poisons that won't kill God Emperors. However, Peak God King Realm experts will definitely die if they come into contact with it. Be careful when you use it. Also, give us feedback after you use it. Let's see if there's a need to improve it. Demon Fiend patted his shoulder and said, Hee hee, the two of you are really straightforward. Battle Law Invincible raised his brows and grinned. That's right. Take it. It won't be a problem to kill a dozen Peak God Kings. Demon Fiend waved his arm and threw a jade bottle to Battle Law Invincible. Hee hee, two big brothers, do you have any slightly more ordinary poisons? For example, for 8th or 9th Order God King Realm experts. Battle Law Invincible rubbed his hands. Here. Orochi casually waved his hand and threw a dozen jade bottles to Battle Law Invincible. Thank you, two big brothers. In the future, as long as you say the word, this little brother will not hesitate to go through water and tread on fire. Battle Law Invincible raised his head and shouted loudly. All right. If there's nothing else, scram! The two of them waved their hands. Kakik, the Dragon Palace is really rich these days. They can casually throw out such treasures. Battle Law Invincible walked out with his buttocks swaying. Soon, he flew towards another mountain peak. In less than 10 minutes, he walked out excitedly with a spatial ring in his hand. Brother Duan Ji Ming is really honest. In the entire Dragon Palace, only Brother Jin Ming is a good person. Battle Law Invincible sighed. From the Firehammer tribe, they obtained a water droplet cannon. Its name was ordinary, but it was extremely powerful. It was a new weapon of war developed by the Firehammer tribe. The water droplet cannon was 1,000 meters long. Infused with water element laws or water element divine stones, it could kill a Peak God King Realm expert. The current Dragon Palace is really invincible. Battle Law Invincible sighed. Battle Law Invincible didn't know how strong the Dragon Palace was now. However, after controlling the 3 territories, all kinds of resources were transported to the Dragon Palace every day. This led to the Dragon Palace's rapid development. When he entered the Firehammer tribe's residence, he almost drooled. With sufficient resources, the Firehammer tribe started to show their terrifying talent. Especially after combining with Witch Dragon's witchcraft array. Damn it! If I can still meet with danger in the Liuli region, then I really deserve to die. Invincible Battle Mage touched his waist pouch, raised his head, and walked out without a care for his family. It was no exaggeration to say that the weapons on him could kill 2 or 3 God Emperors when they least expected it. Master, senior brothers and senior sisters, let's go. We can rush over through the Dragon Palace's teleportation array. Battle Law Invincible smiled as he returned to his master. All right. The Upper Water God Emperor and Battle Law Invincible's 2 senior brothers and senior sisters nodded. Battle Law Invincible's senior brothers and senior sisters were only at the 9th Order God King realm. The Upper Water God Emperor had only broken through to the Emperor realm a few 100,000 years ago. The disciples he accepted had only been under him for a few 100,000 years. Not every disciple was as monstrous as Battle Law Invincible. This time, all of you just have to follow me to the Liuli region. Don't talk too much, especially you, Invincible. The Upper Water God Emperor warned Battle Law Invincible. Chapter 2901, Backed by the Dragon Palace. Boundless Magic for Colored Glaze Region, the #1 region in the starry sky. Countless experts were born in the Colored Glaze region. The #1 force, Colored Glaze, had more than 20 God Emperors. And these were just the God Emperors of the Colored Glaze force. In the Colored Glaze region, there were many other forces besides Colored Glaze. These forces were not as strong as Colored Glaze, but they were comparable to the tyrants of Tian Fa Ancient Heaven region. In the entire Colored Glaze region, there were more than 30 known God Emperors. However, the current Colored Glaze region was filled with a murderous aura. The smell of war lingered in the air. On a planet closest to the sacred region in the Colored Glaze region, 5 figures flew over from the void and landed on the planet. This is the Colored Glaze region. It looks so prosperous. Invincible Battle scanned the surroundings of the planet with a face full of curiosity. The reason why the colored glaze region is called the number 1 region is because of its size and its system. The colored glaze region is relatively fair. As long as you are a genius, there will be a day where you can shine. The colored glaze region has a lot of resources. In addition to the threat of the demons and monsters in the demon region and the robots in the mechanic emperor region, there is no lack of training. Hence, there are many experts. The upper water god emperor sighed slightly as he looked around at the starry sky in front of him. Let's go! After saying that, he put on a dusty computer on his hand, looked at the information on it, and walked towards the teleportation formation. Invincible Battle and the rest immediately followed behind, looking around curiously. The teleportation formations in the colored glaze region were obviously much more than the other regions, and it was much more convenient. The upper water god emperor and the rest quickly rushed towards the center of the colored glaze region. The planets in the colored glaze region had technological types, fantasy types, and a mix of technology and fantasy types. The closer they got to the center, the more they could feel the solemn atmosphere. There were even white cloths hung in some places to commemorate the fallen god emperors. The upper water god emperor looked at the portraits and photos of the fallen god emperors with a solemn expression. Invincible Battle and the rest looked over and found that among the 5 fallen god emperors, there was an old man who looked similar to their master. The 5 god emperors were not all from the colored glaze region. 3 of them were from the colored glaze region, and the other 2 were patriarchs of other forces. After 3 days of teleportation, they arrived at a floating city in the sky. As soon as he stepped out of the teleportation formation, he saw the words glazed world in front of him. This was an incomparably huge city. It could also be called an incomparably huge cosmic island. The entire Lazuli world was abnormally prosperous. The upper water god emperor looked at the world in front of him and stopped for a full 10 seconds. Master, since you're here, let's go over. Let us take a look at our sect. Second senior sister, who was invincible in combat, said. They're here! They're all here! Upper water god emperor murmured. With a wave of his arm, he sent Invincible and the other 3 flying forward. Master came from Colored Glass, a great clan of colored glass, the Shang Shui clan. Our Shang Shui clan has been loyal to colored glass for generations. 1,000,000 years ago, Master left for the 8 desolates in 6 directions due to some reasons. The upper water god emperor said to them, his eyes gleaming. Your advisor perished in the great battle not long ago. After pondering for a few seconds, he added, Master, were they killed by the robots or by the demons of Chimay region? At the side, the burly first senior brother growled with a murderous look. They perished in the battlefield of Chimay region. The upper water god emperor sighed with tears glistening in his eyes. The atmosphere turned silent. The upper water god emperor looked ahead and led them flying rapidly. Experts below the emperor god emperor were forbidden to fly in the colored glass world. The aura of the upper water god emperor was unrestrained, and no one came forward to stop them. After flying for a few hours, a huge building emitting 5 colored radiance appeared in front of them. The building was like a mountain and was exceptionally eye-catching in the entire world. Is that the origin of colored glass world? Glazed Jade Tower. Third senior brother looked at the 5-colored building in front of him and murmured. That's right. That's the Glazed Jade Tower. The entire Glazed Jade Tower is made of colored glass divine stone. It's priceless, the upper water god emperor said with nostalgia. Senior, what's the matter? What's the matter for you to come to Colored Glass Tower? When the upper water god emperor and the rest arrived before the Glazed Jade Tower, more than 20 middle-aged and old men immediately flew over and stared at the upper water god emperor. Sensing the might of the upper water god emperor, they asked with vigilance and respect. Upper water clear sky! The upper water god emperor said plainly. Upper water clear sky! The crowd was slightly stunned as they looked at him with astonishment. Clear sky! I didn't expect you to break through to the emperor god realm! At this moment, an old man below stared at the upper water god emperor in astonishment. Hee hee, I was just lucky. 12 protectors, you're still the same. The upper water god emperor smiled plainly and said to the old man, Come back. The past is in the past. Moreover, your father. The old man looked at him and said slowly, I know. I'm back. The upper water god emperor nodded his head plainly. Welcome home, Sir God Emperor. The old man bowed to him and said solemnly, Let's go. The upper water god emperor moved and continued flying in with Jean Woody and the rest. He's the upper water god emperor who severely injured his brother? Sigh. Who can tell the past clearly? Back then, upper water god emperor's children had all died in that incident. In the sky, more than 20 middle-aged old men recalled something as they spoke softly. The glazed jade pavilion was huge and occupied a radius of more than 10,000 kilometers. The emperor god experts and core disciples of the glazed jade pavilion resided here. At this moment, thousands of people were gathered at the glazed jade clan. The entire land of the clan was filled with solemnity. In the middle, there were 3 portraits. A group of relatives and disciples stood in front. The upper water god emperor and the rest flew over and attracted some people's attention. Many of them had a change of expression when they saw the upper water god emperor. Why is he here? Why is this guy here? Who asked him to come? If it wasn't for him, Qinghe wouldn't have died. Some of them spoke with angry expressions on their faces. I asked second brother to come. A lady in the middle said. Qin Shan has become an emperor god. The 5 old men in front of the lady looked over and commented with flickering eyes. The 5 old men's words caused everyone in the surroundings to be slightly shocked. Even the woman was extremely surprised. The upper water god emperor looked down without any expression on his face. He landed on the ground and walked forward. Everyone's attention was focused on him. Invincible Warrior looked around curiously and raised his eyebrows slightly. You're tuning into the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.